Hello. So excited to see you today. Today, we are going to be covering labor, birth, positions to protect the pelvic floor. And I put that in quotes because, I don't really like the term protect your pelvic floor. It assumes that everything that is happening to it is bad or wrong, or that it doesn't need to happen. When in fact, like labor and birth is a very natural thing. Um, and it's something that you can do with pelvic floor awareness, not necessarily having to protect what's going to happen to your pelvic floor. If that makes sense. That was a little bit of an aside, because really the topic of today is keeping your pelvic floor a little bit more protected when you have prolapse during birth, which is something I commonly talk to people about. It's something that a question that I commonly hear, because adding pelvic work and prolapse into a labor and birth situation, I get it, can be a little bit scary. So we want to do all that we can to minimize the ongoing impact of labor and birth on our pelvic floor. And we can do that by breathing. We can do that by positioning. So today we're going to be talking about breathing. I also posted some positions in the Facebook group, but I'll talk you through some positions with or without epidural. But mainly what we're going to be looking here is your breathing strategies. And of course, you can't really predict what's going to happen in your birth, if the birth is going to be fast or if it's going to be slow, because you can't really control how you're going to react in the moment. But what you can do is prepare yourself as best as you can to approach your labor and birth and be calm during it, so that you're not rushing things. That's the number one when it comes to pelvic floor and prolapse specific stuff. We've got to take it slow. You've got to mind your breathing. You've got to look at how your body is connecting through that moment. But of course, you can only focus on one of those things at a time. The main one is breathing. The biggest one is breathing, because that's going to help you relax your pelvic floor. And also it's going to help you slow down a little bit, because it does help calm your nervous system. It's going to make it so you don't feel as rushed or as stressed in that moment. So we're going to work through this breathing for stages of labor. Please ignore my inbox number. I'm not an inbox zero person. So if that stresses you out, just don't look. Anyways, so this handout is within the group. So if you want to go back through it on your own, I'll also tag people who are interested in that individually in that post. So drop a comment in the replay post and let me know if you would like to be tagged in this resource, and I'm happy to do it for you. So you've got your pre-labor prep. This is what we want to be working on now while you're in pregnancy. Your calm breathing is breathing in through your nose and then exhaling slowly and gently through your mouth. Now, that's really important, through your mouth and calmly and gently, because that's going to help your pelvic floor relax. It's also going to help you drop your shoulders, relax your jaw, and let go of any tension. And this has a suggestion for, and I did, if you have a pregnant stuffy nose, just breathe in and out through your mouth. The in through your nose matters a little bit less than out through your mouth. And then you've got your diaphragmatic or belly breaths, which is what we work on in your program leading up to birth. Slow, controlled abdominal breathing. Breathe into your center. Connect with your body. Connect with your baby. Then you've got your pelvic breaths. You're breathing in with the awareness of the lengthening and relaxing of your pelvic floor. We work on that a lot in the program, is breathing with the awareness of your pelvic floor. But again, this is only one strategy. And when you're in birth, I don't want you to think about your pelvic floor as much. What's going to be happening in the rest of your body is more important than what's happening in your pelvic floor, unless you're noticing that there's a stall and you may be holding extra tension, which we'll walk through in a little bit. Anyways, so Building that awareness in pregnancy is really important because you want to have that mind muscle connection of knowing what pelvic floor relaxation feels like. So that's something you work on leading up to it. You've got your focus breathing, practice breathing during a deep stretch or holding an ice cube in your hand. This is a really, really good one, and one we do that I can go through in comfort measures as well. If you'd like to do that, let me know. We can add that in because that's something that I did in a comfort measures class one time with a client, and I loved that exercise. So basically what you'll do is you will hold an ice cube in your hand and set a timer for 1 minute and focus your breathing throughout that entire minute. The exhale becomes your release. And what's going to happen is that ice cube, it's not comfortable. So this is mimicking like you focusing breathing through your contraction. Great exercise if you haven't done it. Counting breaths can be really, really helpful if you find your mind going into a stressed out place. Breathing in for a count of 4, breathing out for a count of 6, and then just keeping those counts, keep doing those counts. That can help you focus on your relaxation a little bit more instead of the constant thoughts that are running through your brain. Sounding breaths. Sound produced during an exhale, chant, or when singing, low hum or an audible sigh. Sounds are really helpful in birth for protecting or managing pelvic floor pressure. High-pitched screams and yells lead to tightness in your pelvic floor. Low moans, those can help your pelvic floor relax, and you can try it on your own. That's a fun thing to do as well, like do, and then do a very low sound and feel what happens, the difference in your pelvic floor. In terms of labor, you're going to take a calm breath at the beginning and end of each contraction to let go of any tension that you've held and to stay centered and present. What you do in between those is kind of up to you and up to what helps you manage better. So then you've got your breathing for the stages of labor. The early phase of labor, you may not really need to utilize much in terms of focused breathing or counting breathing. You may just need to focus on your inhale and your exhale at the beginning and end of each contraction. But as labor gets more intense, into the active in the transition phase, you're going to have to be more focused on that focused and counting breathing and making sure that at the beginning and the end of each contraction, you're releasing tension and letting it go. This is especially important for your pelvic floor because your pelvic floor is impacted by the stress that you hold in your body. So in terms of prolapse and reducing the impact of labor and birth on a pelvic floor that is already a little bit impacted, your breathing is going to matter and your tension is going to matter. So making sure that you are remaining focused on your breathing and letting tension go in your body, doing lots, sitting on the ball a lot, walking a lot, using gravity to assist you. And I know if we're talking prolapse, it feels very weird. You may be surprised to hear me say that gravity is your friend, but it really is. The more you can utilize gravity, the less you're going to have to push against your pelvic floor and the less impact you're going to have. So as far as positions, we're going to want to use the ones that use gravity the most. And yes, I know that seems like, okay, well, I can only do unmedicated, and that's not true at all, but you can do a lot of different positions with an epidural that can utilize gravity. So basically, you don't want to be laying flat on your back because you're having to push and fight against gravity. You can push in a more upright position, even if you are laying on your back, but we want to make sure that our glutes are relaxed during that pushing phase, that you're allowing the pelvic floor to open. Side lying positions are fantastic and still very doable with an epidural. If you have a really good team, you can even get on all fours with an epidural, and that's a really great position for pushing and for laboring in general. So those are a few positions that I might recommend. And again, like we've got to control what we can control. So the biggest thing that we can control is the breathing, and then how we're going into that pushing phase, making sure that we're not purple pushing, or pushing when you don't have the urge, forcing into your pelvic floor. We want to relax into the burn, relax into the pressure, and let your pelvic floor open. You let your body do most of the work so that you're not pushing and fighting to have your pelvic floor get out of the way and open more. That can be the most helpful thing. Because I mean, with my third, I was like, I'm not going to birth on my back. And I ended up there, not flat on my back, but I still ended up on my back because that was the most comfortable way for me at the time. So I always tell my clients not to stress out about what position you end up in and do the what ifs. We want to just work with what we got, work with what you got, and control the controllables. An uncontrollable is like, yes, a lot of it you can control and suggest different positions. But again, your body is going to tell you to do different things. So some focus goes to it, but I don't want you to be hard on yourself, or frustrated if your body tells you to be one way when you were planning on another. That's my message there. Okay, that was a little road off to the side that we did. Let's move on with this. Slow exhales relative to short inhales is where you want to go. As you exhale, I want you to focus on releasing tension in the places that you can, and also reframing your mindset a little bit. That can be really helpful too. If you find yourself fearful or thinking stressful thoughts, just refocusing and breathing them out. And then, like I said earlier, focus breaths, counting breaths can be really helpful for when you're getting into that active and very active phase of labor, to refocus your brain and help you relax a little bit more. Remember that your contractions are like waves. You've got to ride the wave. Okay. And then you're very active in transition phase, which can get you. Breathing and vocalization are really common during this phase. My biggest reminder is try to keep those low moans, low vocals. It's really common to want to scream your face off during this transition phase. But as much as you can, sing, chant, moan, count, cry if you need to, but try to keep those exhales with a low moan and sound. And then counting can be really helpful too. Refocusing your brain is very important during transition. Okay, and then here are, let's see if this clears up in a second. You're going to push at the peak of a contraction, is what that's saying right there. This is the most important part, and it's not loading for me. Hold on just 1 second, y'all. Okay. All right. 4 to 7 seconds at a time at the peak of your contraction. That's your pushing time. To relax, sing, hum, make a sound in between your pushing contractions. Try to refocus your brain. Spontaneous pushing, breathe out vocally with the urge that comes with the contraction, or gently hold your breath, followed by a grunt or other sounds. Hold your breath gently, let it go. Hold your breath gently, let it go. Don't hold your breath and bear down and push. Directed pushing. As the contraction begins, focus and breathe in and out a couple of times. Take a breath in and suspend the breath. So while you're bearing down, you're going to exhale slowly. Then you're going to take a few breaths in and out, and then repeat and hold and do a proper strain. There's nothing wrong with straining, but we've got to not strain and push with all of our might. Maybe like take 50% off of that and do that. Now, again, it's going to be different because you are going to have some coaching in the room. That's usually what ends up happening, is that people are trying to do these kinds of breathing techniques to help their pelvic floor stretch a little bit better, but they're being directed to do otherwise. Anyways, that's an aside as well. But repeat until the contraction ends. And then in between contractions, take a full breath. So really holding for 10 seconds and then a breath and doing it again 5 times over. A couple of times during a contraction is great. All right. J breathing. Take a quick breath in and then exhale with a long downward and forward breath out. Practice this on the toilet. This is something you can also do if you're constipated to reduce that pressure on your pelvic floor. So while you're crowning, this is where I say embrace the burn. That's an important part. The burn are your pelvic floor muscles stretching. You're going to breathe out or lift your chin and blow, pant through the contraction to keep from adding force. When you feel a burning sensation, blow tiny birthday candles to allow the tissue to stretch gradually. Stretching out this phase, even though I know you don't want to, but stretching it out, that's going to help your pelvic floor so much. And then in the placental phase, the third stage, which you will still have contractions, your OB or your midwife will guide you, and they may suggest a little push for the placenta, and all of that good stuff. So this is the long and short of the breathing. Again, if you want to print this out and have it for yourself, I'm happy to tag you in that separate post. And then as far as positioning and all of that good stuff, I did throw up some photos in the group for you to refer to. But remember, gravity is your friend, and allowing those tissues time, gravity, time, breathing. Those are your 3 best friends. Everything else you can work with. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope y'all have an amazing day, and I will see you Saturday at our co-workout sesh. Bye.